There's something about a garden that feels enchanting. Maybe it's the promise of new beginnings or the quiet satisfaction of watching something grow. For me, our backyard is a blank canvas, waiting to become the Victorian-inspired garden of my dreams. I'll be starting with the practical heart of any Victorian kitchen garden, raised beds for growing vegetables from seeds. It's already a bit later in the season than I'd planned, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the best time to start is now. First, I'm defrosting my seeds. These seeds have been in our freezer for about a year. They did go through a defrost for a few days during the Hurricane Helene power outage this past fall, so I'm not sure how that affected them. Hopefully they're still viable. But according to a quick Google search, you should let them thaw gradually. Before opening their containers, you're supposed to let them sit at room temperature for about 12 hours to prevent moisture from condensing on the seeds. Then they should be exposed to air for a few days before planting. Next, I'm figuring out where I want to place my beds. I'm basically centering them along the side fence and placing them 7 feet away to allow enough space for a 4-foot wide flower border and a 3-foot wide walking path. Then I'll be relocating the 2 garden beds from next to the patio to this area. While I'm getting started with those, I want to give you a bit of background on my garden vision. We bought this house a few years ago, our very first one after renting for the first nearly 12 years of our marriage. Both the inside and outside are long-term projects, slowly taking shape piece by piece. So far, we've completed a couple of major outdoor projects. In the fall of 2022, we added gutters to the back of the house. Our house was in new construction when we bought it, and it didn't come with gutters in the back. But we noticed the rainwater dripping off the roof a little too close to the foundation, so that needed to be addressed. The next year, in fall 2023, we cleared about a 3,000 square foot strip of forest to make space for a fence, and then added the fence itself. Smaller projects have found their way in too, like landscaping the front garden bed in January 2024, and 2 previous, albeit unsuccessful, attempts at vegetable gardening. The first spring we were here in 2022, I tried growing vegetables on one side of our back patio directly in the dirt, but I didn't water enough and the southern heat is unforgiving. I took a break from gardening in 2023, but last spring I tried starting seedlings indoors full of hope, only for them to die before I could get the new garden beds in place, except for a single resilient cantaloupe. Lessons learned and a reminder that gardening, like homemaking, is a patient art. And now, with the foundational projects behind us, it's time to begin. I've drawn up plans for a backyard space inspired by the Victorian gardens I admire so much. I've also taken inspiration from memories of a couple of my favorite properties I grew up on in beautiful rural Rappahannock County, Virginia, where gardens felt like secret magical worlds. This side of the yard will be devoted to growing food, while the other side will be more for recreation. A space for our trampoline, a future above-ground pool, and room for the kids to play. It won't be 100% historically accurate, but it will be rich with those quintessential Victorian elements: structured garden beds, winding pathways, well-defined borders edged with brick or stone, focal points like a gazebo, 2 distinct garden rooms, and a mix of edible and ornamental plants. Now that the old garden beds are relocated to their new area, I'm placing these first 2. I was originally going to have 6 garden beds, but I forgot that our property is pie-shaped when I was planning this area. So the fence widens out on the one side and wouldn't fit the 6 beds horizontally the way I originally wanted them. So I decided to start with just 4 this year. Historically, in Victorian kitchen gardens, raised beds would have been framed with natural materials like brick, stone, or timber. Brick edging was especially popular in formal walled gardens, while wood was often used in more functional plots. Of course, those materials can be quite expensive today, so I opted for galvanized steel beds instead. They're durable, affordable, and they still keep everything neatly contained. It's a little modern twist on a historical idea, something I think the Victorians, with their love of innovation, might have appreciated. Next, I'm shoveling dirt from where the garden beds used to be, next to the patio, to fill the new beds. Altogether, I used 16 totes full of dirt from that area, 4 totes per bed. It was a lot of hard work, but it was so satisfying. It's a couple of days later. I was worn out from those several hours of work on Saturday and took Sunday off from gardening. And now I'm finally opening my seed packets to let them air out for a few days before planting. Next, I'm assembling 2 brand new garden beds. The 2 white ones I ordered last year weren't available, but these are very similar. Same size and build. Basically, they're just light gray instead of white. I did order 4 new ones this year, but like I mentioned, I decided to just have 4 total for now because the layout from my original plan was way off scale. In the future, I might lay the other 2 new ones vertically instead of horizontally across. Now I'm placing the new beds next to the other 2 I already laid out, just roughly in their spots for now. After a busy day of errands on Tuesday, I'm measuring a yard between the beds to make sure everything's even and symmetrical. Then I'll be starting to fill these beds up with dirt. Hours later, I'm still filling up the beds with dirt from next to the patio, but I'm almost done. I picked up some bags of compost from the hardware store the day before, and I'll be adding 2 to each bed to give the seeds a boost of nutrients during their early stages of growth. There are 2 different types of compost I'm using. The next day, I'm finally ready to plant my seeds, but first I'm making the labels and laminating them with tape to make sure the writing doesn't wash away. Now that the seeds are laid out in the beds, it's time to plant. This is only the beginning, the first steps of a much larger vision. Over time, the space will transform, layer by layer, season by season, until, Lord willing, it's brimming with the life and beauty I imagine.